right, so I'm seeing a lot of head nods about, yeah, maybe we want to look at going at that with that 2,000.
Do we know if they're booked frequently, or if people have difficulties booking them?
It's been kind of a back and forth policy of booking them. Sometimes people reserve them for parks, sometimes people just show up and use the park. So it's kind of hard sometimes to necessarily, I just show up and, kind of camp out. So it's kind of like if you paid, then we can tell them who's up, you paid, and you have to reserve. So it really hasn't been anything formal. But we're looking at getting some contracts that we could be able to do that because it seems to be more a bigger demand for those kind of contracts. But most of them are the same contracts for the
And I think the teams have fundraisers at the pavilions and things, barbecue.
Okay.
So you're going to move the pavilion from 1 to, from the 5 down to the 2?
I am.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's good.
Right under that is also picnic tables. Your previous plan had 1 table per 1,000. If you look just to the right of that, you'll see that currently through our inventory you have 48. That was, what's that ratio of?
I got 267, that's not
Yeah. That's 1 table for every 267 people, which is well below that 1,000 ratio. And so that's why I plugged in there 300. So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. You don't want to go below your standard really that you have right now. And so I plugged in and would propose us to change that from 1 to 1,000 to 1 to 300. The last one that I wanted to talk about on that end was splash pads. Yeah, as Tom just whispered, splash pads are very popular and also kind of a trend in the Parks and Rec industry. Your previous plan had 1 to 10,000. I would encourage putting that closer to 1 to 5,000. If you look at just your city population to put it in comparison, again, I'm kind of rounding up on your population, but you're talking about 2 splash pads, maybe 2 different areas of your city that could serve that. But that seems about right as well.
We just opened up a park in Bulverde. It's been open about a year. And they're already making modifications. First thing they're going to do is put up a splash pad. So,
And I'm in the previous city, we have a splash pad, very popular, and those are the kind of things that I see as putting within the city, not having to trek out to the event center, but people that can't afford to go out to the event center, they can utilize that splash pad and have fun, and that be somewhere in the city in one of the parklands instead of putting it out on another day. Well, I think they vary.
Cities,
So you're talking about moving that number down to what?
5,000. So, again, right now cities like the fact that compared to your traditional pools, you don't have to have as much maintenance, certainly from equipment. Although there is some pump systems associated with it, but you also don't have to have the lifeguard staff at those, which over the last, another trend over the last 5 to 10 years, lifeguards have become more and more tough to find for whatever reason. But so again, you see a lot of municipalities migrating towards splash pads. Actually, I kind of lied in saying that was the last one. I skipped over soccer fields. Then on the soccer fields in your old plan, it said 1 to 3,000. NRPA standards are 1 to 5,000. And if I were to make a suggestion, I would say your 3,000 is probably a pretty good mark, simply because soccer fields were again in that high priority item. And so it tells me that you're needing a higher ratio, or your survey anyway is saying, and certainly some of the input that we received at our first public meeting are saying.
pretty positive.
Yeah. So I would.
Everybody plays here. Hope doesn't have a league. Tom doesn't have a league. Army does, they still incorporate and play within this here. So almost every entity inside the county plays out of Florida.
Okay. So I am going to move that to the 1 to 3,000. And that also begs the question, both your baseball fields, if you look on the chart, and the softball fields also are that 1 to 5,000 ratio. And so I asked that question, Again, baseball is our number one as far as in our weighted matrix. If we want to also move that from a 5,000 ratio to a 3,000 ratio.
Are you considering some of the fields, at least being a couple of them, league fields, where you could actually have league ball?
For like adults.
Exactly.
They can be.
That
They
can be a
can
revenue,
be.
that's a revenue.
Yeah, I mean, what you see, obviously, each city has kind of its own demographic blend as far as, and organization league-wise. Some cities cater to primarily adults, some just primarily youth, and then some have a good blend. So that distribution of fields, to answer your questions, varies. And sometimes cities too will have larger fields that they bring in temporary fences for, you see it all the time with youth games where they'll fence it off for T-ball or something like that,
But to be able to reach out and capture that revenue would be good.
Yeah, what I would propose is, my sense is that it's very youth driven, that we are here. Some of what we know that there's, right now the city of New Braunfels, which is semi-neighbor, has been conducting a feasibility study for the demand for a sports complex. And so I think we can kind of cheat and kind of piggyback and see, because they're pulling from a 3.5-hour radius on that end, so we can really kind of see what the market is looking at.
They do a lot of adult softball.
Okay.
So like on the softball field, it's 1 for 5,000 population.
Mhm.
That's roughly 3 or 4 fields. So a couple of those could be.
Based on kind of our ISD
Yeah.
assumption, yeah.
So a couple of those could be aimed at youth, women's softball, and then perhaps a couple could be for adults.
Yeah, I think possibly, yeah. Another thing to look at though is that if the EDC is wanting tournament play, really to attract a tournament, you need to have a fourplex. They're all kind of the same field. So you don't necessarily want to go to youth and to adult and not be able to host a tournament that's geared towards one or the other. So it's kind of broke on that. Okay. Guys, that's really what I wanted to kind of accomplish tonight. Is there, I guess, 2 things in closing. Anything on the recommended guidelines as you have perused that list that jumps out that we need to tweak that ratio up or down? Again, it doesn't all just, we're not just pouring our plan through the NRPA sifter and have it come out. This is to meet the needs of your community. So I urge you to kind of look at that as you go home and you still have this sheet of paper. If something jumps up to you, please let us know. On behalf of the board, as we're making our presentation and giving an update to council, is there anything that you would like for us to specifically carry forward that has not been included in the presentation?
For your number, for our discussion, if the number comes back from Floresville less than, say, the 2 times number, maybe we ought to go with the 2 times, the larger of the 2.
Okay. I'll tell you what I'm going to do on that end, if it does, is that I'm going to go back to the old plan that benchmarked, a 20,000 number, and kind of see where that number actually came from. Because again, I need it to be defensible. And I understand where you're coming from. I also need for it to be defensible that people know, hey, they just didn't say, hey, let's double the population at a EDC meeting in February and call it gospel. Well, it could be. But just so that it's defensible in case anybody's asking that. Particularly, I think some of the direction we've had is that we want to go move forward with the grant potentially, and so if TPW is checking our numbers, they need to see reference sources.
Yeah.
But I do understand exactly where you're coming from.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On those fields that you were talking about, adults, if you were to make a fourplex like that, and you can condense it down to small little leagues also, right? And you can also, the same fields, you can use them for like soccer. you know, the backside? Or for football, can that, I mean, you know what I'm
It
saying?
won't fit on, football field won't fit on.
But for little leagues,
You would have to
is
move.
it still the same size?
Same size, we're 120 yards by 53 yards.
You would have to move fences.
I mean, but it's still, could you still move it towards the backside of the?
It's
where-
not something that you see a lot of municipalities do because, quite frankly, one sports use on it. You know, your reference of the fields right now need a lot of TLC
Uh-huh.
that you had said earlier. One sport wears out a field.
Yep.
And so your fields never have time to rest.
Right.
And that's one thing that we'll talk about as part of that O&M plan.
The only reason I'm saying is parking, you know,
Yeah.
because, I mean, you're gonna need you know, if you're catering to the whole county, you're gonna need, you know, a Walmart parking lot or something like that, you know? So, you know, and that's what I'm saying about the field, you know, if it can be modified to be able to fit in there.
We could put
Take
shrubs.
it.
You know, we have seen that. I know
Listen.
we worked with in San Angelo, and they actually opened, didn't have a permanent fence on the outfield.
Mhm.
And it was small enough that it was geared that, with certain lighting systems, you don't have to have the lighting standards like, you know, straight or in the pocket. They could be on the sides and still get your foot candles.
I mean, I'm just saying that because, you know, they're talking about football fields, soccer fields and all this stuff, and I'm just saying, well, if you're gonna put a sportsplex, you know, everything condensed where everything can be used in that area.
Yeah, the thing is too, you gotta remember, like right now, they want to do 7-on-7, and they got Little League at the same time.
Okay.
On a Saturday, you can't use two sports, they play at the same time.
Yeah.
Especially like with more of the select leagues coming in,
Yeah.
they play year round.
We got a long way to go, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Okay, so I heard your comment about population. Anything else that you want to make sure that we haven't captured in our presentation that we want to make sure the council's aware of? Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Tom, you want to introduce number 9 and your dismissal?
I want to just have an introduction of Dwayne Westerman. He was recommended to us, and Ray and I met with Andy Eubanks, who was a former board president and local bank president. Just for the board to think about and look at a separate financial advisor to guide us and help us look at our stream of future income and help us determine what's realistic as far as a bond that we service over a period of time, 15, 20 years. And Dwayne, I appreciate you coming out tonight. I told Dwayne that I was not going to put him under any pressure to report anything, but I felt like that he ought to start listening to the issues about the park and you know, just looking at the standards. We need to have 200 or 300 acres and millions of dollars to do all the things that we would need to do to meet these standards. So there has to be a practical application, and I want the board to be comfortable that we are making a good decision on how much debt we can service in the future. And I hope we could use Dwayne and his firm for that, just like the city uses Floresville.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Dwayne Westerman with Samco Capital Markets, office in San Antonio. I've been in this business, done the financial advisor work, for about 31 years now, and we work with many different cities, counties, and schools, and across Texas, in Central and South Texas in particular. Work in the city of Seguin, city of New Braunfels, city of Bernie, to name a few. We work with Bear County on some of their projects. We work with looking at issues that need to be funded through sales tax revenues, through property tax revenues, with the traditional city type of financing. as well as special districts and hospitals and various things like that. As he mentioned, we haven't had a chance, we just, I think, initially spoke on Thursday, so I'm not prepared to give you any information specifically or anything of that nature tonight, but we'd be delighted to get the chance to work with you if you so desired. I know Mr. Cross Bank worked in different projects. I think if something comes along, and, relationship there as far as being able to represent you and the Economic Development Corporation and help you make some decisions and help hopefully make it work compatibly with the city and so forth. So anyway, I'm happy to give you any other information to request. I can get it back to you as quickly as possible. And anyway, just appreciate the opportunity.
Well, what's the industry standard, if you will? For example, with our gross revenues, and then obviously we have our fixed expenses. But for debt service that we can carry.
Well, with sales tax revenues
And it's volatile, I realize that.
are generally considered to be one of the more volatile revenues that come in. And, I've heard you mention the average over 5 years or this and that. You have some extenuating circumstances with having the Eagle Board go on here in the last 5 years or longer, and some of the growth that's there. So you have to take some differing approaches. But usually you can look at some type of coverage ratio with those revenues just to give yourself a protection, whether it's sometimes you see 1.2 times or 1.25 times. You want to have that as far as the coverage of revenues above what the debt service would be. And you want to use, whether you decide to look at your average over the past number of years in a situation like this or the most recent year. There's a number of different things. I won't say there's one specific industry standard. There's different things to look at in each different scenario.
We just don't want to bite off more than we can chew.
Right.
We want to be able to afford what we want to do this, but we want to be able to pay for it.
Exactly.
What does the market look like on the interest rates?
Interest rates right now are still at historic lows. I mean, we've kind of talked like we've been at lows for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and we keep thinking they're not going to get lower, and by golly, they creep a little bit lower and move around. But we're at the low end of this low range right now, so interest rates are favorable at this point in time.
And you could lock in a 15, 20-year amortization.
Yes.
At some of those good rates.
Yes, absolutely. If the project meets all the needs, it can be a tax exempt issue, and I don't know what other needs. This is where I have to find out a little more. But from the city's point of needs, if you issue less than 10 million, which might be a little bit of a wish list in a calendar year, you keep your debt as bank qualified, which gets you even lower levels of interest rates. But you're looking in the 15 years, 20 years, and the 3% maybe range, and 4%, or even a little lower if you just get things everything right.
Anybody have any questions? I appreciate you coming
Yes,
out.
I have one. If we had a set figure that we could use for our service fee, whatever that number is, you could give us them figures to go with that, what kind of average we would get for how long a period and so on, and how much we could get for that amount.
Right, we could do some sensitivity or capacity analysis with those types of revenues, yes.
As a starting point, for example, once we figure what we have in the way of revenue, with good projections, not using the high level that we've been using for the last couple of years, and then subtracting operating expenses, other things that we have, because we have a lot of other things other than this particular project, and then maybe having some reserve left in there, and then it leaves us this amount. We could work with that, and then find out, what it would cost us to get this amount, and how many years we got to go.
I think what, we would suggest, or what we would bring back to you if you started with something like that, is say, okay, here's at these levels being at the most conservative, here's the amount of dollars you have. If you want to go to this other end that's a little more aggressive, here's, and do maybe a couple of spots in between, just to give you a range that we can start getting a feel for. And then as we get more comfortable with, okay, we like this kind of in the middle right now, and start your planning off of that.
So, with using that approach, then we would have to do an in-house analysis before we even went to.
Well, yeah, we'd work with your
What
director.
I'm saying, we would have to know, with some degree of certainty, that we have this amount capacity.
You would, and we can look at your historical revenues, which he sent me a little bit of information already to look at, and then get some input from you too. So yes, we need some information from you, but we work with you on
No,
all
I
of that.
understand that. You're gonna help us.
Right, right.
We wouldn't have you here if you.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And there's gonna be a combination of things. One, down in, I don't know, the next, I guess, item 11, Tom has come up with a bid to take us to the next step of, we get the master plan from a 30,000 height level, and then they have another proposal to then come up with construction cost, and so that we can start leveling out and saying, hey, we here are the priorities, how much is it gonna cost in real dollars to build those on this 100 acres, and at the same time have Dwayne talking to him to see what we can actually financially afford, and they come together and we start saying, we can do these projects, we can't do these, it's gotta be a phase 1 and a phase 2 kind of thing. So this is all gonna come together, but I think he will have an important role in helping us understand what we can afford, and then from Tom's standpoint, telling us how many fields we can have so that we can afford to build them and service the debt. So I think that will come together, and like Ray said, the sooner the faster the better.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anybody have any more questions for Dwayne?
We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Item number 10. City Manager.
But, EDC, at the last meeting, you all challenged me to go get 3 bids after I came up with a recommendation of what we could be able to do. And so, I almost got there. I worked really hard, but not quite. Okay, so the 2 things were the bathrooms. I heard you focus on that. And it's 2 different locations. So we'll start with that. There are actually 3 different things here. Get my There's 3.
Oh, there's 3 trees.
What's wrong with it, Jay?
I killed the tree. Come on.
You got it with me, it's like that.
We need 3.
Oh, I need those.
And make sure that it'll be on the clock.
I'm good.
Has everybody got one?
It was back.
Yeah.
But you got 2.
Oh, are you sure?
No, I got 3. 1, 2. One of those good. No.
Okay.
No, you need 3.
You can fight amongst yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, so if you look at, we have the top, I highlighted so we can keep going. Bids for Watts Park, which is the, yeah, so we look at bids for Watts Park, and then we have bids for the skateboard park, and the last one is carpentry bids for skate park and Watts Park. And they're calling Watts Park, American Legion Park, or what, it's for the one over there where the tennis courts are, the bathrooms there. Okay. So if you look at the first one for Watts Park, we tried to get 3. We had 3 to come out and do a walkthrough. Rushmore, LJ, and Cravens. So they each gave a bid for the bathrooms. Rushmore came back and said that they wouldn't be able to do any kind of work right now, they couldn't do what we needed, and so they did not. So that this one is for Watts Park. It's for Watts Park.
You got one more of the bid?
So that is for Watts Park.
What's your name?
So it's for Watts Park. So the numbers came in, and this is just for the plumbing part of it, so that we can get the stainless steel toilets.
Where's that park now?
The Watts Park was over there by the
American Legion.
American Legion, by the tennis court, there's bathrooms there. And he took a few pictures. I didn't want to kill too much tree, but it's pretty bad. Some of the pictures and what we got going on. So to replace all of those fixtures in there, as you see, we have the two. I got to get three. One person said he couldn't get it. So the labor and the fixture, the total came to $12,600, and Cravens came in at $16,129.60. I highlight the cost. So
Yeah, I got it.
So those are the two different ones. Okay. Now we did spec out the same exact. You know, they get to pick the fixture. We picked the fixture. We used Cravens before. That's who did the bathrooms at Pecan Park, and that's who did the one up there. By the pavilions, those bathrooms there. I'm really concerned, staff is not recommending LG Plumbing for this. He thinks that he's not quoting what necessarily has to be done. They're recommending Cravens. I know it's a difference, he is a lower bidder. We spoke to him again and he goes, yeah, he's gonna stand by his price. So there lies what it costs to do the bathrooms. I'm talking just the fixtures at Watts Park up there by American Legion, by the tennis courts. Okay. And then if you move on to bids for the skate park, we have LJ Plumbing, Cravens, and Rushmore. Rushmore again put a letter there saying that he did do the walkthrough, but he wasn't quite able to bid this project, so I was trying to get my three. The plumbing at the skate park was $11,500 for LG, and Cravens was $15,179.60. So those are the two for the plumbing aspect. I get three, but I'll get two, okay? And then last but not least, is you see that we have some painting and there's some carpentry that needs to be done. I mean, there's some windows missing, some things are kicked out, there's some walls that have to be done, and of course we will need to paint this wonderful bathroom. That is a carpentry bid for the skate park and the Watts Park. You know, plumbers are great, but they put holes in the walls when they put their stuff in, and they don't put them back. So we need to be able to paint it, put it back, and anybody been to any of those bathrooms, so they need to paint it. Here comes the kicker in this one. If you wanted to have graffiti paint, it's a special paint that Sherman Williams can do, but you can't put graffiti on it. It's 5 times the cost to the other ones, okay? So on one hand, it's kind of like we can come back and keep painting it as they tag it. Because if you look at some of the skate park, you can see where they tagged really nice cartoon character looking thing in the bathroom. We can go paint it every other week, or we can just get this anti-graffiti stuff that you can just wipe it off and it really is not fun for them to paint on. So if you look at the prices, the lower price is just normal paint that they do for outside, and then if they add on the additive for the, as you see, the paint with graffiti and non-skid additive is a lot more expensive. So on A&D Works, he said for both parks, now he's talking both bathrooms together, would be $12,875 to paint them, fix a little wood trim, the stuff that's kicked out, or $25,000 if you use the graffiti, anti-graffiti paint. And then Snowball, their difference is 27 with the graffiti and non-graffiti is 20 for both bathrooms. So, there you go. But they did break it down, so if they, in case you wanted to just do one of the bathrooms or whatever, they can take it out. I've attached all of their.
So as of right now, the Watts has a bathroom, it's just not up to standard.
The Watts, it has a bathroom. It's really
The
scary
skate park
bathroom.
has none.
Skate park has a bathroom, we just keep it locked up.
There's no facilities in it though.
It's there, but we just keep, yeah, they took, because they kept breaking the porcelain rolls and the sinks, and so we actually just closed it up. There are some facilities in the Watts Park, it's really kind of, need maintenance is not an issue, they need to replace some of those. And so, I'm gonna come with the price.
There's a lot of people that use the Watts Park too. I mean, there's a lot of older people playing pickleball and this and that.
Well,
There's,
the Watts Park bathroom is the one that's, so it's close to the basketball, and there are
Tennis courts.
plenty of kids that use the basketball, the tennis courts too, and that's where they play the pickleball. So that's what, and there's a picnic area there as well, some picnic tables there. And then the skate park, they haven't been able to use the bathrooms, and one time we did have, porta potties there, but they kept getting turned over and make damage to the children, didn't have that there, so. Those are the numbers that we came back to. I know I think your budget number, Tommy gave me was like 20,000 or something you were all looking for.
Yeah, as you all remember, our budget for parks was $50,000. 30 of that is committed to the Parks Master Plan, and then we have $20,000 in our current budget, but we can always do a budget amendment.
So what the staff is,
So which one's your recommendation?
staff is recommending on the plumbing
staff?
side, staff is recommending Craven's Plumbing. They're concerned that a LJ may have not spec'd everything, even though we did ask him. When we did the numbers ourselves to see how much the units are, and as you see, it's attached to what those units cost, because they are costing, because it's a long lead time, the numbers just don't match. But he said he's standing behind his bid, so.
and you've used him before, right?
We've used Craven's before. He did both bathrooms at Pecan Park, and he did the plumbing at the bathroom at the city park.
Is anyone local?
Craven's is located pretty close, and when we had a small leak or something, he came out very quickly and fixed it. Craven's did, so.
I don't think we have, we even have a local number, the guy that told, he even told, I don't think we have a working local plumber.
Craven's is in
Red
Stockton.
Rose.
Oh, Red Rose? Yeah, Red Rose, yeah.
Craven's is in Stockdale, and LJ is in Fall City. And the gentleman who opted not to bid after he came out is from San Antonio. But we did have 3 to walk through. You know, there's a lot of work that they're gonna have to do, because they have to knock out this, because they're putting these pipes in, so they need to get into the water closet, which is in the between, so the plumbing and things such as that doesn't match for the portions they're gonna need to do for this stainless steel, so it's quite a bit of work, so you need to definitely have a licensed plumber to be able to do that. So.
Well, what do you see as the bleeding artery, the Watts Park? It appears that we fix the skate park, they tear it up, they fix it, they tear it up.
Well, it'll be a lot harder for me for them to knock things off, to, you know, to step on them, to jump on them. The porcelain is just not gonna hold up, no matter what. So
And they got them rocks out of there, they were, had them big old,
I mean,
they're the wall, that's what they thought of the wall.
yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, if you look at it, skate park has absolutely nothing. No.
But the good news is that Clifton Rogers, who is the welding instructor at the high school, has had a team of his kids over there. They're gonna make us some jail doors that'll be on rollers. So if we can get the police department to do like they do at City Park, in the hours of darkness, they'll be locked over those 2 entrances. Then they'll be open in the morning and they'll roll over. The 8 ventilation windows, one was kicked in. He's also going to do jail bars that we can put up there and prevent, hopefully, the vandalism that's going through there.
And I saw you walking out there for marking off stuff the other day. Is that bathroom you're used for other things besides the skate park, any future growth out there? Is that the plan for those bathrooms too?
It could be.
If you put like
What we were doing there was one of the residents had said that there's not a dog park, and I'd asked Tom if it didn't make your list that Mr. Luck just presented. The foundation is trying to use that southeast corner where you saw Mr. Sack and myself. I've been told by a gentleman from the city that he's got a surveyor that'll survey for free.
Other parks that don't have a
That's my
bathroom.
dog match.
The skate park has no working bathrooms.
But he's talking about they're talking about doing a dog park, so that would be a multi-use bathroom facility, not just for the skate park, but for your dog park that y'all are talking about putting in from the park department.
combination, you know, walking the dog park along with the skateboard.
Right.
You know.
It would be hard, you know, I mean, it'd be hard for us to balance which one is more important, I mean, the skate or.
Well,
or the walk.
the thing is this, and
So those are,
you know, the skateboard, to me, the answer would be that you would have to have some control over the skateboard. You know, I think Jones mentioned, you know, that if the school is willing to provide, you know, some of the bar doors, whatever. The original plan for that park when it was built was to build a fence around it. That was the original plan. And put lighting, street lighting. Has no street lighting, I don't think so.
It doesn't.
You know, and for it at night, you lock it up. You open it up in the morning. Police go, open it up, and close it at night. But it didn't happen that way. You know, and time went by, nobody did anything about it. But that was the original point. And that's why when kids that use it, you can go 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna find kids in there.
So it's a hard decision, I mean, because we need so much at all the parks, so, but the restrooms, from what I met at the last meeting, you told me to looking at the restrooms to, you know, so that we can be consistent throughout. The color scheme of their paint is gonna be the same color scheme that we painted the other two, so that we can have some consistency with our parks. It's a neutral color, it's nothing, you know, sporadic or very colorful, things like green, you know, moss green and a beige. There's so many different color beige. They have the chips, so they're all matched. But I wanted to be able to bring you the numbers, and it is, you know, like I said, on the Watts one, I think it's a difference of about $4,000 between the two. On the skate park, there's about another $4,000 difference. And then the painting, of course, if you want the graffiti paint or you don't want the graffiti paint. If we paint our standard color, my staff will have their paint on staff. They have paints now. We'll be able to take care of the feet. Sometimes it becomes a game of how bad do they want to tag and how bad do they want to paint. So it can be a race because the paint, I don't know if it's going to be worth and
What's this paint for both of them?
so this paint's for both of them. We have to drill down to see if you decide which one. I can come back with the final proposal of what it would be once you tell me Watts Park or skate park or no park. But I did, like I said, I do have.
So anyway, you add it up, we're gonna be over.
You're gonna be over 20.
We had 56,000, we did both.
Henrietta, I thought when we were talking about which to give priority, we were talking about a particular item that went across the parks. For example, the bathrooms. And not necessarily do the whole need. You know, like take one park and fix it totally. But get to those things that are critical, that need to be fixed, and do it across the board. You know, go to, right now, skateboard, Watts. Is there another park that has very bad restroom facilities?
After this would be Lodi, and Lodi has the,
But you see what I'm?
Lodi has
We
the
weren't
bathroom.
doing the painting and everything else, we were just looking across the board.
But what's gonna happen if you don't do the painting, once they rip out the plumbing, he's gonna come in and put the fixtures
Okay,
in.
so if it's tied into
It's
the
tied in.
restroom facilities, then by all means, you know, not.
Yes, because if you look at, this is the bathroom, so they have, literally, they have holes in the
Yeah,
wall.
okay.
And as he's taking out more fixtures, if he's doing more things in the plumbing, he's got to
Okay.
address
So
some of
the two are
those issues.
tied together, then they're still looking at bathroom needs.
Bathroom needs, it's all for the bathroom itself. As I said, this is some of the graffiti.
And
that they
and your
have.
priorities based on need then are these two right here to begin with.
Yes, and then the council has brought to my attention Lodi. We're gonna be fixing the fence at Lodi because there was a car accident there, so we're going after their insurance company to replace the fencing there. And then we'll be looking at those bathrooms, whether this council, whether this body pays for it or not, is something that we're looking at being presented to look at.
So if the cost here is beyond what we can afford, you know, the 20,000, then is the city gonna take over and do part of that, or is it
I
gonna
can-
left undone? or-
I can take it to the council to see if they want to be able to look at that. Parks are very important to them, they've been, you know, focusing on those type of things. They did give me approval last year to do the two bathrooms, one at the Con Park and the one at the city park, and we have completed those. So I believe in that wonderful dollar amount, we have somewhere around
Well, maybe
$66,000.
down over here, we'll give you more than 20.
So we do have about $65,000 left in the park funds that we come up and we budget for. We do have that, that's not allocated at this time.
Sure.
I don't know if they're gonna reserve it for some of the things that we have to do with Tom later on. But this was what my direction was, and I want to bring it back to you.
And the Parks Foundation Board of Directors is willing to do some blood, sweat, and tears and do the rolling and do the patching. And we could even try to talk to Mr. Gunn at McCoy's to get you some paint.
How much money do we have to move? We have 20 and that's allocated, that's left.
You budgeted $20,000 this year, you budgeted $15,000 last year.
Budget 50 and we spent 30.
Yeah. But we didn't spend the 15 from
It
last
was
year?
50 minus the parks plan 30, so that leaves 20 to do projects. Can we add it, is there any way we can share costs? I mean, I've added up I guess the plumbing for these two, the 15,000 and the 16,000 is 31,300. If we put in 20, can the city put in 11? Out of that 50-some thousand, to get these bathrooms in?
I can take it to the council to see if they're be amenable to say that you always, you know, put in the plumbing and take care of that portion, and the city
What do they
company
put in those doors?
the painting portion. I can take to the council to see that they can be.
So right now,
Nearly done.
if they do those doors and put them in, they're gonna put in doors, but they're not gonna have, if we, say we don't do the skate park, they're gonna put in doors, but no bathroom. Now,
Well, the reason that we did it that way is that I didn't want us to spend our time and money to go patch and paint the interior.
Oh, so y'all were gonna do that.
And have the hoodlums come back.
Also, this price right here of painting could actually go down. If you're gonna do some of the patching and painting at the skate park. Because this is to do both of them.
Yes.
So if we just did the plumbing right now,
And is the plumbing cost inclusive of actually buying the stainless steel?
Yes.
and if we went with the, I know they recommend the Cravens, but I mean, you're looking at an $8,000 difference, and, you know, we're always going for a low bid, not saying that's the
Well,
best
I mean,
one
we
to
can
do.
hold them to, because we did spec them, as you see, he walked them both through, we tell them, this is what, you know, you have to put in there, and if, you know,
So he
sometimes one
did it.
vendor could be the other, we gave them the exact same
And
specifications.
he said he could do it for that price,
He
that's
said he could do it for that
$8,000
price.
difference.
So he said he could do it for that price, and I'm gonna.
Your proposal is the exact same, because it's two different. If it's for walks and
So let's add them up, who wants to add up?
skateboard, the proposal is the exact same.
So 12.6.
Yeah, I highlighted the difference, gave me two different ones, that I wanted to make sure, that, you know, you see that there were two different ones, but this, he spec the same thing.
24.
But it could be he has a better vendor, or he buys it more in volume, I couldn't tell you, but,
24-1.
Yeah, and then if you add up the high one, it's 15 plus 16. What'd you come up with, Tommy?
1,100 for
The low
the
one?
lower bid,
And the high one?
for both bathrooms.
And
Now we get all the materials in the labor, just not the painting.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Cravens.
because he's saying for, LJ Plumbing, he said 24,100 is what he said to do both bathrooms.
Yeah. And then the other one was how much to do both?
31-3.
31.3. So if we've been talking about turning, like Ray said, every rock, if we can commit this, the parks could commit to helping paint them?
Henrietta, in their bids, what's the actual gallons of paint for each, and what's the cost differential? If you can give me that, and if we could pony up the cost to pay for the paint, I could take that to the board. We meet Wednesday a week.
Okay, so I can take it back to them and say, what is it just for labor, and we can, you know, provide the paint for them. Is what you're asking me, is that what I'm saying?
I think we've got a group that wants to do the paint and do the repairs to the inside. If you could just give me the actual, how many gallons to paint the skate park, and what the cost differential between the anti-graffiti paint and just regular enamel paint.
It's right here.
It says 40 gallons of anti-graffiti top coat.
And that's both facilities or one?
That's for the skateboard.
40 gallons. Oh, that's inside and outside probably.
Do I include picnic tables? That's what yeah, so there's painting tennis courts.
This is skate park and what's park.
Oh, and
Y'all
painting
just-
5
y'all just
tables.
want skate park, yeah.
Skateboard. So you're gonna paint 5 picnic tables, oh, at the skate park, I guess they're gonna paint those picnic tables.
Yeah, there's some picnic tables over there that look pretty,
Hills?
so.
I mean, what I heard the board saying the last time was, let's take care of the dire needs. What are the dire needs? Seems to me, the skate park with no bathrooms is about as dire as you can get. And then, the other being the tennis and basketball court.
So my question is, so say we went over say we just did bathrooms, no painting, nothing.
If you did the bathroom to 24.
Where would we get their 4,100 from? The other 4,100? We just gotta take the 20 and then with the city kick in 4,100?
You always amend your budget.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, how much does that pay for graffiti?
So you saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying the 24,100 would come from EDC and you would fix the fundamental fixtures of that, and then you would look to be maybe a partnership between the Park Foundation and the city to do the painting and whatever little wood trim and things like that.
Yeah.
Patching and those.
And the school to do the doors, whatever, he already has a line with Mr. Rogers.
As far as I know, they're probably.
Now, could you do the same doors at the Watts? Because you're gonna put all this money into it.
Well, I was gonna say, there's one caveat that y'all have to remember. With the USDA loan, every facility has to be ADA. Now, I've gone through and measured all the walls, and after finally figuring out that with the tightest ruler, because I didn't have a regular ruler, what the scale was to give to Mr. Peoples, so that he can see that the doorways are wide enough for wheelchairs. They come in and make the turn. We know that in, I think it's the women's room, that 1 2x4 with a piece of plywood that makes a partition to give them privacy when they're using the toilet, one of those may have to be moved to give you the width to have a wheelchair accessible. But again, I can do that, no problem. But we've got a family named the Perrys that have taken this from the heart. They lost a 20-year-old. And I met a 25 and a 26-year-old there that knew Justin Perry. So we're trying to do that out of the memory of the lost son, plus the fact we have talked with residents in and around there. In fact, Ram's got a friend that he has coffee with every week, and his daughter came over and talked to us and mentioned the thing about the dog park. So between Mr. Sack and myself, we went out. That's when you saw us measuring.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've got a person in town that is willing to survey if we can provide the labor. They can give us 1,000 feet, a 4-foot chain link fence to include the concrete, the poles, the bottom wire, the top poles, the top caps. But again, in talking with Henrietta and David, until this M&S plan is done, we didn't want to throw a kink in the works. But I'm telling y'all tonight that we can provide some of the substitution. Like I said, I personally pressure washed on that cold, wet day in November all of the interior. I bought a can of graffiti remover, and it doesn't touch any of that stuff because some of the apparatus. We had a young man that took his mother's roller and his mother's paint, and when the taggers hit that wooden fence, now if that was all part of the plan, the fencing in and that wooden fence was there around there, it's the first time that's been made available to me. But they're good-hearted people, and they're willing to do it.
But are you saying, backing up a little bit, that your measurements come out that the bathrooms can't be made ADA?
I don't know. I've got it to give to Mr. Peoples because he's going to make us get a permit to do what we're trying to finish?
Well, the ADA accessibility, and my ADA engineers here, is a 3-year plan for the USDA. So we have 3 years to come into compliance. And our first focus is going to be the city of Floresville City Hall and the small thing we have to do to the post office, to the police station that used to be post office. So in the 3-year plan, we're going to be looking at all of our parks, all of our PCs, but we have 3 years to implement that.
I think the skate park, the first opening is 38 inches, and I don't know what the actual ADA for the wheelchair is. And I think all of your open door facilities, like the Con Park, the one down at the City Park, one over there at the Phelps Court, don't have doors. And you've got stainless at Lodi, but the problem there is in a Butler building.
So we can, I can take the proposal that EDC be willing to do the plumbing for both locations, and we can in a joint come up with painting and with the collaborative effort between the city of Floresville and the foundation to do the painting part of it, then we can move forward. So.
We need to make a motion to.
You would have to make a formal motion, yes. Then we're gonna have to also make a motion to amend our budget because we had allocated only 20,000, so we're going to have to allocate another
4100.
40 whatever to do one budget. But keeping in mind, you know, this is just a start. You know, we're gonna, as numbers come in, we're gonna be looking at money out here to try to get these things in order, the baseball fields, to get that safe.
These are the essential things that you need.
Yeah, this can happen tonight. This can happen tonight. We don't know those numbers yet. So I guess we would actually need 2 motions.
So I guess I'll make the motion to go with L&J Plumbing for the 24,100 to fix the bathrooms with the skate park and the Watts Park. With the help of the city and the Parks Foundation to help with the woodwork and the painting.
We have a motion by Ben and a second by Diane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?